Christina. I really appreciate it. We can unmute for a few minutes if you want. We'll be muting at some point, but just want to say hi and let everyone settle in. There's so many familiar faces, which is so great to see many of you coming back over and over again. I like really appreciate that. And I feel like I'm getting to know you all, so it's really, really cool. I've been thinking a lot like about New Year's resolutions, and I've never like been a huge fan of them. No judgments if you are, but like they've never like sat well with me. But I was hearing something today. It was actually about a writer who he was talking about how he writes his books, and what he says is that he'll plant seeds, and he might think he's planting like a palm tree, but he ends up with a pineapple tree or whatever, he ends up with something different. But that the planting the seeds is kind of how he gets started with his writing. And I thought that that could apply to life. And I now have a cat trying to escape the room. So hang on. Okay. Cat. Sorry for the interruption. He will meow relentlessly for the whole time if I don't just let him go. Anyway, so I thought that the planting seeds was a really nice analogy for life, and even like what we think about in the new year, maybe trying to want to start something new or refresh. And I think too with migraines sometimes, like I know personally I've set a resolution and then migraine gets in the way. So I have a quote here that I thought could be some nice inspiration. It's by Robert Louis Stevenson. He wrote the Jekyll and Hyde book. But this quote is, "Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant." So that's kind of where my mind has been. And I thought we could all take some time to write about what seeds we'll be planting or would like to plant. It doesn't have to be like 20 things. It could just be one thing that you're wanting to plant for the new year. And knowing that it could grow into something different than what you expected, and being open to that and exploring it in your writing. So I'd like us to jump right in this time. We'll have like a full 10 minutes and check in, and then we'll have a lot of nice time for discussion afterward. So everyone has stayed muted, so that's fine. So I'll go ahead and mute myself, and I'll check back in 1 minute before it's time to wrap up, and then we'll discuss.
Lisa, could you read the quote one more time?
Yeah. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. So write about a seed or any seeds that you're thinking you might want to plant. How about 1 minute left? It's time, but I'll wait till more people look like they're done. So just a reminder that, you can continue with these thoughts after we all say goodbye later. So, um, don't stop if you don't want to. If for some reason you want to just keep writing now and you never come back on, that's also fine. Um, but if you want to be part of the sharing process, I'd just love to hear what anyone came up with, what seeds they were thinking of planting and where your writing took you. Tom, were you trying to talk?
All right, I'll go first and I'll keep it short. I decided to do it in outline form with a lot of bullets because I work for the military and everything has to be in bullet form. And I narrowed it down to 4 or 5 of them. Look forward, not backward. A young friend taught me, why does your car have a huge windshield and a small rearview mirror? Because we should be looking forward. Become a more engaged chronic pain advocate. Continue with my self-care, which includes things like mindfulness and deep breathing and stress reduction activities, and continue to help my friends with life problems. I recently helped a young lady with a job interview because she was a little nervous. We had a phone conversation and it calmed her down to the point where she felt she did well in the interview. So little things like that, where
Mhm.
sometimes your voice can calm somebody. And the last thing really is prepare for Headache on the Hill, of course, February 14th. I already
Mhm.
put take time off from work the day before and the day after because it's really important. And the one thing I had on here was um, manage my physical health. If you have doctor's appointments or my physical, I'll be 74. So obviously I get physicals and blood work and chest x-rays all the time. But stay on my appointment schedule because things can go south without you knowing about it. Sometimes you're in trouble physically, but it doesn't hurt or it doesn't show up until it's too late. I spent 9 days in the hospital in May with a serious case of pneumonia, 4 different strains. And I learned my lesson to stay with your doctors, get tested. If you feel a little sick, call your doctor. So thank you for giving me the time. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and also um have had several family members in the last year, unfortunately, having that realization that something is wrong without having pain. So it's really good to keep up with all that. And I hope you're feeling better from the pneumonia.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Um, do you feel like um putting it in bullets was like enough for you, or do you feel like you'll want to go back and write more about some of them?
For me, because I've been working for the US Navy for over 40 years, and everything we do in our writing has to be in a bulletized form, in
Mhm.
PowerPoint. And that's just the way the military, if anybody has a military background, the military worked that way with bullets. And they put the the hot stuff up top and the lower ones at the bottom. So the way I've done it on paper here, I know you can't read it, but I've made little dots in there and I put like 13 things on there. I just edited to the 6 that I feel I really need to do is like resolutions in 2023. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep this piece of paper in my, every 2 weeks, I throw it in a folder, all my artwork and everything. It's going to be in there and I'm going to pull it out in January to say, hey, how are we doing with this? Give it a score, A, B, C, D, or E. Well, in the military, we have red, yellow, green. Green means I'm doing it. Yellow means I'm working on it. Red means I forgot to do it. So bullets work for me.
That's awesome.
Thank
I
you.
love it. Thank you. All right, who else wants to share?
I could go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not in the military, but I also use bullet points because that's just how my brain works. I like bullet points over full sentences. So I started by just listing, like brainstorming any seeds that came to mind. I came up with 8 things, like trust, self-love, patience, stuff like that. And then I picked the one that really like stood out to me tonight and then expanded more on that. So that was knowing myself and what I like and what I want over the past decade, maybe. I've kind of lost track of the things that used to bring me happiness and fun, and more and more so with feeling worse in the past 5 years of chronic migraine and anxiety disorder, and have just kind of lost track. I don't even remember what is really important to me, and I'm trying to take some steps in that direction now. And so I just kind of listed more bullet points, specifically trying to remember things that bring me joy and happiness or have in the past, and trying to look at how I could connect with those things moving into the coming year.
I love that because it's like the least sort of it's not like goal oriented as much as it is like mindset oriented, and I just think that's a really nice positive way to start. So thanks so much for sharing.
I'm willing to go next if nobody else wants. Yeah, first of all, on Tom's comment, I do things slightly different that I learned from my Stephen Covey training, which is 4 quadrants from left to right, top to bottom, which is urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent and unimportant, and then unimportant and not urgent, and the stuff in quadrant 4 I just throw away.
Yeah.
There's no use spending time on it. But the other thing that I've learned through some of the training I've gotten, that it's important to just try and concentrate on 3 things at a time, because when you get more than that, often a lot of stuff just gets lost and not done. And for this exercise, I'm just focusing on 1, which is self-accountability, because under that topic seems for me to come under everything else, whether it be exercise, nutrition, going to health appointments, taking proper care of myself, doing things to mitigate or manage my migraines, all of that. Because if I'm not accountable to myself and don't do these things, then those other things are not going to happen.
I love the way you put that, because I was basically writing the same thing, but I hadn't come up with like a good way to describe the term yet. So I love that, self-accountability. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna steal that from you. Does anyone else want to share? Heidi?
I can share a little. I like this because something I was already thinking about is focusing on intentions and not results, which seems like it really fits with the topic. So that's something I really want to keep working on, especially like I haven't been feeling as well. And so if I focus on just the intention or the trying, then even if I'm not successful, it doesn't feel like a failure, which is helpful.
Yeah, and especially like, I mean, with our situations with migraine, it has its own flavor, but I feel like that's just life anyway, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then another thing is just to be more mindful of what I'm feeling and like slow things down. Like instead of just something happening and then I get whatever feeling I get, and then I react right away, to like slow the whole process down so that I'm really just sitting with how I'm reacting and then can choose how best to proceed or formally react in a way that's healthy and it's like my best self instead of, kind of a knee-jerk reaction that sometimes I feel like then I end up in a worse situation. Or like with like, I don't know if you guys know the terms like clean pain and dirty pain, like
I
I
don't
can,
know the terms.
so like clean pain, I guess would be like, oh, my migraine level has just gone up. So instead of having a moderate migraine attack, I'm now in a severe migraine attack. And I can't go to a party that I was invited to.
Yeah.
And so just focusing on, well, I'm disappointed instead of like, I'm disappointed now, no one's ever going to invite me anymore. And I've upset everyone else. And, like dirty pain is all the stuff you add on, all kind of the stories you tell yourself, I guess, that make it that much worse. So if I can slow things down, then maybe I can just deal with the little feelings instead of all the stuff that can come with it.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
If I could make a comment on what Heidi said, as far as when you feel like like you're failing at something, I try and reframe that into instead of calling it a failure, calling it a learning experience. So by learning from whatever doesn't work, you can do better the next time.
Yeah, I love that, Jim. Deanie, you're the other person with the camera on. Did you want to share? You're muted. We can't hear you. You're muted. Are you able to unmute? No.
Lisa, do you know if I could unmute her as the host?
Yeah, you might be able to.
Let me
Or
try.
Tony
There's a button to.
She did it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Deanie.
It said unmute.
Yeah, you're good
I'm
now.
really listening and taking in what everybody else is saying, and I'm really learning from what everyone is saying, and I thank you very much for all your participation. I would rather not participate at this time. Thank
That's
you.
fine. Thank you for coming. Oh, I just saw we're actually at time. But I'll give one more chance just in case someone who didn't get a chance to share would like to either talking or you can even put something in the chat. I'll leave you guys with one thought that came up in my writing, which like as I was writing, I was thinking about an actual seed, like in a plant, and realizing that, like, to my knowledge anyway, this, I'm not like a horticulturalist, but to my knowledge, often the roots grow before any like buds and things. So the roots are kind of there underground doing their thing before you can see any kind of result. And that to me is just a little reassuring that, you know, you don't always see what's happening, but it's something that's happening. Dina, did you want to say anything?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining today and hope you all have a safe and happy new year. And hopefully the new year is filled with a lot of positive health inquiries for it's a more positive year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. We'll see you next year.
Thank you, everybody. This was enjoyable. Thank you.
Happy New Year. Thanks.
Happy
One
2020.
quick thing is from my understanding that everybody needs to be re-registered for the group to not forget.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, you need to just go back on the website and re-register, and you'll get, you know, you'll continue to get the emails. I think the next one is, it's in 2 weeks. So I think that's the 12th of January. So you have a little time, but definitely don't forget.
Yeah, as that I think goes for the support groups as well.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.